Hello everybody, this is Kreshova of Leviathan server. I main Summoner and also Scholar. I wanted to do a quick video to kind of show my crossbars and how I came up with them and maybe help some other people out there that don't really know what to do with their crossbars or haven't ever changed their crossbars like I used to. After for a year that I played the game, after I started, I never changed anything. But first, let's go to the HUD layout, and I'll make my crossbar bigger so that everybody can see it. I try to play with everything as small as possible, that way it's not in the way of everything when I'm doing a raid or something. But, okay, so originally when I had my crossbars, I just kind of let whatever abilities fell as I leveled, just wherever they were, and just use them that way. So Physic always landed there. Ruin 1 was actually here at the beginning, and Miasma, Bio 2, those were all in the same spot, and I think Aetherflow and Energy Drain were there as well. So I still have these from the original, from when they first fell, as I leveled and gained those abilities. But I've moved other stuff around to kind of make things easier as I play. So first disclaimer, the way I have my bar set up is in no way the optimal way, and if I could go back and start all over, I probably would do it completely differently. But since I was already used to certain controls, I just kept them that way. That way I wouldn't have to relearn how to play and use different abilities on different buttons. So the first thing you want to do when putting abilities on your crossbars is determine which abilities are your core abilities that you're going to be using all the time, and which abilities have important cooldowns that you want on your bar. So Ruin 2, those you're going to be using those a lot. Bio, Miasma, Bio 2, you will use those a lot as well. Eye for an Eye, that's not very important. Titan, summoning him, that's, yeah. Sustain, not important. Miasma 2, sometimes you use it, especially in AoE situations. I don't have it on my main crossbar, my first one, but I have it on my second one. Shadow Flare, same thing, although Shadow Flare you use a lot. If there's a way I could go back and do it, I'd probably put Shadow Flare on my main crossbar somewhere. But Aetherflow has a very important cooldown for Summoner, so that's very important to have on your main crossbar. Energy Drain, actually I probably could get rid of that since I don't use it too much, but I'm so used to it being there, I'm just going to leave it there. As far as cross-class abilities, Raging Strikes, you definitely want on your main bar. I used to have it on my second one, but I realized it's more important to have it on the first one. Swift Cast you always need on the first bar. Quelling Strikes you don't really need on the first bar. You can put it on the second one or somewhere else, like maybe an expanded control. Blizzard 2, I have it on one of my expanded controls. Surecast I believe I have it on. Wait, I don't even have it. I'm bad, but I'll put that on somewhere later. Expanded controls, in case people don't know what they are and how to use them and how to put them up. Basically, you go to character configuration, hotbar settings, and go over to the cross, and right here it says expanded hold controls. You have to enable that and then choose which crossbar you want to show up when you use the L2 plus R2 or R2 plus L2. And then they'll come up for as long as you're holding L2 and R2. And then once you unpress them, it goes back to what you were looking at. I have it on the 8th one, just because I don't use the 8th one for anything. So I can just put the cross-class abilities that I want for each job on that 8th slot. Let's see. So when I made my setup, Summoner was my main thing, but when I did other jobs with crossbars, I kind of put the same abilities in the same spot. So Eye for an Eye on White Mage and Black Mage is going to be on this spot, no matter what. which is the expanded control, R2, L2, then triangle. Virus I always have on my second crossbar, right here on the right D-pad, for all my classes that have virus, so white mage, black mage. For Scholar, like Scholar and Summoner have a lot of shared abilities, so I pretty much keep all of the Scholar abilities and Summoner abilities in the same spot. Shadow Flare is always here, Miasma 2 is always here. Oh yeah, also my Resurrection and Raise are always in this spot right here on all of my classes. I try to keep things consistent with other classes, that way if I'm switching, like say I want to play White Mage, I won't accidentally be like, oh, Swift Cast and then Swift Cast Shadow Flare when I'm trying to raise somebody, because that would not be a good idea. Well, I guess you can't, not Shadow Flare, because as a White Mage you wouldn't have Shadow Flare, but maybe like Cure 2 or Cure 3 or something. Let's see. Macros, I used to have a macro, but since they changed like pet abilities, I kind of took that out. I would macro Garuda's AoE ability on Bane, because whenever you're Baning, you're going to be hitting multiple targets, so you might as well use that AoE ability with Garuda for extra damage. But now I just use Garuda's ability all the time, since it's a little different now. These extra bars over here, like on the side, where you see like Pain Flare, Death Flare, Aerial Slash, all that stuff, and over here these extra ones, which you can't see the one back there, but the Poison Pot, Contagion, I have those there because they're not on my main bar, but it allows me to see their cooldown even if I'm not looking at them, where I have them on my bars. So like on my expanded L2, R2, I have Death Flare and Pain Flare. Death Flare is not, it's very situational that you'll have to be like, oh, is my Death Flare on cooldown? Like say you're at the end of a fight and you really want to get another Death Flare off for the end, and you realize that you had just used Dreadworm Trance not even 15 seconds ago, or it just came off cooldown, so the Death Flare is going to be on cooldown too. So you might want to put that to the side so that you can see when it's going to come back up. Same thing with Pain Flare. Like you don't want to constantly be going to this to see, oh, when's it going to be up, when's it going to be up. If you have it over here on the side and you can see when like the little shadow thing is moving, the clock, then you can just check it over there, and then when you need to use it, go and use it. Pet abilities, just like on Scholar, I keep the Scholar ones the same between Summoner and Scholar, so I always have them on the expanded controls, R2, L2, and then in these spots right here. But of course you can put them anywhere you want. I used to have Contagion on my second bar, but I actually like it more on the expanded, because if I'm Contagioning, I'm usually doing other kinds of main ability stuff, like dotting up something or using a pet ability, something like that. So it's better that I can just go to the expanded control and then go straight back to my main crossbar. Let's see what else. So if you're going to change the way you have your crossbar set up, just be prepared that it's going to take probably minimum 2 weeks to a month to get used to the new setup that you're going to be doing, especially if you've never used expanded controls before. So like the first time I changed my controls back in December, this was after we had been farming T13 for a while, and I was really bad. I had Ruin 1 on my second bar, Ruin 2 on my first bar, so I would constantly be going between my first and second bar just to cast Ruin, or Ruin 2 whenever I had to move, and that was very, very inefficient, and just it lowered my overall DPS because I was always waiting on, like sometimes I'd mess up and take too long to move over, or maybe I wouldn't switch over to the bar I was trying to use. So it's best, like I said, to have all your main abilities on this first crossbar. And then you're going to be bad, you're going to have to get used to using your new setup for a while. That's okay, but in the long run it's definitely worth it, and you'll find that your gameplay is going to be a lot smoother and you're going to do a lot better when you're doing fights. One more thing I wanted to say was, oh yeah, I have Ruin 3 here on this L2 R2 expanded control on left D-pad, which is the same as my Ruin 1. So I can, when I have Dreadworm Trance up, I can just, it feels the same as I'm doing Ruin 1. That way, I'm not having to press some weird button, like say it was like on circle instead, where I don't have anything right now. That would be really awkward. Well, I guess it wouldn't be too awkward because I have Ruin 2. But like say it was triangle. That'd be really awkward because triangle is swift cast or physic, sprint. It's not something that I would think would be like a damage ability, at least in my mind, because I don't have any really damage abilities on triangle on any of my controls, or any of my like R2, L2s. Finally, the last thing that you'll want to consider when like changing your bars up is like you're gonna make mistakes. Like I make mistakes all the time, pressing the wrong button. So like you're trying to use your expanded controls and you're trying to do L2 R2, but you do R2 L2 instead, and you're like, oh, I can't find it. So that's gonna take a while to get used to, and even after you get used to it, you'll still find yourself doing that over and over. When you're in like a situation where you're stressed out and trying to do a fight perfectly, you're not really thinking. Another mistake is like you press the buttons so fast that the game isn't registering. Like when I was doing the T5 Duo, I was doing the same opener over and over, but because I was so used to it, I'd press the button so quickly that the game wouldn't register one of the buttons. So like I would try to Miasma 2 and it wouldn't Miasma 2, and then I'd try to like swift cast Shadow Flare and I'd be swift casting maybe like Bio or something. So just remember, like, you have to kind of slow down and make sure that the game picks up on what you're doing before mashing all your buttons as fast as possible. And then the last like mistake that you could use is say you want to use an ability on a different crossbar, but you forgot to switch over. That takes some getting used to. Like for Summoner, you kind of need 3 crossbars, and having the expanded ones helps a lot. I think that's everything I wanted to say. But yeah, so if you want to change your setup, definitely try to get something that's comfortable for you, that's similar to what you have now. But these are the main abilities that I think are important on the first bar, just because you're going to be using them all the time, and it's good to have them there in front of you. In Kindle, I used to have on my main bar, but it's such a long cooldown that I decided to move it to the second one in order to put Dreadworm Trance and Tri Disaster, because those you're using a lot in every fight. Anyways, if you have any comments or questions, or if you like the video, go ahead and leave a comment or do whatever. Hope you like the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.